Brothers and sisters, welcome to Lent. The message of Lent goes out from the heart of the church and from the cross of Jesus, and it says, return to God. Return to God so that you may find your origin and your true destiny. Return to God so that you may find your true identity, who you are. Return to God so that you may find the true purpose of your life, your vocation in life. Our lives as Christians are a constant movement from God into the world and from the world into God. The ancient Christian spiritual masters and mistresses remind us that our Christian journey is a constant return to God. They use the word exitus reditus. I come from God and I return to God. Every day I wake up, I come from God. I go out into the world. I do my job. I go around. I play. I celebrate. I fall. I rise. And at night, we return to God. It is this movement, this dual movement, from me to God and from God back to me, from God to the world, to others. It is in this movement that we find the rhythm and rhyme of life. So Lent offers us the opportunity to return to God. And that's why we are given the spiritual practices of fasting, of prayer, of penance, and of almsgiving. Through these spiritual practices, we return to God. Through these spiritual practices, we find our way to God and to one another. Through these spiritual practices, we strengthen ourselves for the journey of life. It helps us to get rid of sin, which weighs heavily on each and every one of us. Sin makes us heavy. Righteousness, love, peace, conversion make us light. Being spiritual means that you are carried wholly and fully in the arms of God. You become light. And so the readings this Sunday are invitations to us about how we can return to God. In this our journey of life, we face trials and tribulations. And so we are presented with the image of Jesus who went through temptations. The temptations of Jesus are the inner tension, the inner conversation within the mind, heart, and soul of Jesus on how he was to carry out the mission of saving the world. And at the end, he overcame. St. Augustine tells us that the roots of sin are selfishness and pride of self. Jesus conquered both. First, he conquered the pride of self through his incarnation. He emptied himself and became one like us. And in emptying himself, he makes himself totally available to all of us, all humanity. He was broken. He humbled himself. So he conquered pride of self through the incarnation. And selfishness, he conquered selfishness by dying on the cross for us. He laid down his life for us. And every temptation that you face is always challenging you to overcome selfishness and pride of self by trusting more in God's divine providence, giving it all for Jesus and for the sake of every other person, and not focusing on yourself, but focusing on others and focusing on God. And by accepting that you are human, you are imperfect, you are limited, you don't have all the answers and solutions to problems that you face or challenges that you face. Every temptation brings us down to earth. Every temptation is also a time of divine visitation. Jesus, in his temptation, rejects all the attractions and distractions of this world that could make him to use his power in a wrong way, or the pleasures and the lust of the flesh, or the desires of the human heart that often goes all over the map, leading us sometimes falsely to believe that we are what we eat or what we possess, the things that possess our soul, our mind, our spirit, our flesh. Jesus conquered all this in his temptation, not to use his power the wrong way, not to be snared by the attractions, false attractions of this world, and to follow the path of the cross, of love, of sacrifice, of truth-telling, of justice, in saving us, in healing us, in liberating us, and in teaching us the way, the truth, and the life. That's what he conquered. That's what he defeated in his temptation. And we too are being reminded, brothers and sisters, in this life, number one, in this life you will go through trials and tribulations. But when those trials come, remember that Jesus knows what it means to go through trials and temptation. So do not lose hope. No matter what you're going through right now in life, do not lose hope, because you are going through it. And I like the word going through temptation. I am passing through a difficult time. I like that word because it tells me that this bad or trying temptation or trying times will come to pass. Second point is to remember that every trial makes you stronger, because there is no trial that you go through in life that Jesus is not going through with you. So bring Jesus into that trial. He knows what it means to go through trials himself, and he will help you. The words of the scriptures, the first reading, the second, and the third, are very powerful in concluding our reflection. In the first reading, Moses reminds the people, remember, God heard your cry. God saw your trials and tribulation, and God came to your help. So remember that, brothers and sisters, that God is hearing you when you're crying. God is seeing you when you're suffering, and God is going to come in to help you. The responsorial psalm is a prayer. Be with me, O Lord, in my time of trouble. Be with me, O Lord, I pray. So whenever you're going through any trial, any temptation, don't forget to pray. God will be with you, and God will help you through that difficult time. Finally, in the second reading, St. Paul reminds us, God will never allow you to be put to shame. God will be victorious in you and through you. So hold on to your faith. Hold on to Jesus. Do not let the trials and temptations that you face shake you so much that you make the wrong choices. There is no trial, no difficulty, no challenge that any of us faces in life that we cannot handle with Jesus. May Jesus be with you in your time of trial. Amen.